What's going on, everybody? DarkHour717 here, and today's going to be a little bit different of a video. Before we get into it, though, we have been on a little bit of a hiatus after a stint with bronchitis and just getting my voice back and getting back into the swing of things, so I appreciate your patience with getting new content out. But this was something that actually came out while I was out from the channel SomeOrdinaryGamers. Now, of course, this is a much larger YouTube content creator than myself, and I'm sure most everybody is familiar with him. And if not, then I'll have a link in the description to the original video as well as his channel. I recommend checking it out because I've been a subscriber for some time and definitely enjoy the content, but definitely recommend checking that out. There's a lot of different topics that he does commentary on. But while I was out, he did commentary on Star Citizen, and he is actually a backer. And he did this video and he titled it, "I Feel Scammed by Star Citizen and I Gave Up on It." So it was something I definitely wanted to kind of check out and get his viewpoint on it. Of course, before we get into this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Help me out, get the videos out there for more people to see, and get your entries in for this month's giveaway, which is going to be a C8R Pisces. All you have to do to get yourself entered is subscribe here to the channel, leave a comment on any of the videos here on this channel in the month of July, and you'll automatically get entered. I want to say thank you to everybody for checking this out, but let's get into the content.
Today we're covering a creepypasta known as Star Citizen. Yes, will this game ever release, ladies and...
But of course, he's raising the question that most people have raised as far as the development time.
A few years ago, I uploaded a video on my channel, pretty much an off-the-cuff stream segment, where I kind of crapped on Star Citizen incredibly. And the reality is, I'm a bit jaded from this game's development. Now, in recent months, I've come back to Star Citizen, played it.
Now, we don't know exactly how long of a time span had gone by since the time they previously played and this time during the Invictus.
I guess the best way to describe Star Citizen for a lot of people coming in is this game is effectively life, okay? It's not just your average MMO where you get into a few character classes, some gameplay loops, raid a few dungeons. No, this game is meant to replace life itself.
I think that's a little bit tough of a thing. I mean, granted, it's a much more intense and in-depth immersion.
Imagine playing something like Elite Dangerous, for instance, right? You're delivering things, packages through space. You're a space Amazon delivery agent, right? Well,
and this is very correct. Elite Dangerous is probably one of the closest competitors to Star Citizen.
Well, in Elite Dangerous, you buy a ship, you click through a few menus, and you transfer cargo onto your ship, and you go on your merry way. With Star Citizen, you pick up a contract, you go to a location, you move every goddamn box individually into your ship, you make sure your ship is ready to fly off and your cargo doesn't go anywhere, you fly to the other area, you put the boxes into your, into a box at your destination. That probably doesn't work. You basically got to do every single aspect yourself.
And he's mostly right here. We know that right now, a lot of the cargo runs that you're going to do, it will automatically load your cargo onto the ship when you're buying large quantities from a TDD, or if you're getting it from a station or one of the, bases on a planet or a moon. The smaller amounts of cargo that you do have to manually load is going to have to do with when you're picking up boxes from an exploded ship, or if you're doing small packages on a 3 or 5 package delivery run. With large quantities right now, it will still automatically put them all on your ship until those personal hangars come in.
I wish I could show you more footage, actually, beyond trying to get into my plane, because I couldn't even access the menu to fix my plane. At one point, I couldn't even access the doorways, and the game consistently gave me a server crash.
All right, so yeah, he gets a little heated about some things that sometimes, and actually during this time that he came back and tested, a lot of people were getting very heated. Of course, this time that he was in was during Invictus. We know that this was not the smoothest running Invictus at all, and actually probably the worst one that I've seen in almost 4 years. So really a bad time to come in after a long hiatus and kind of see how things were operating, because with 318, that PES really put us in a position that we were going to see degraded performance for a decent amount of time while they smoothed out all the new features that were coming in.
The best way to describe the immersion of Star Citizen is if the game told you to take a leak, it literally wants you to find the bathroom yourself, go to the bathroom, unzip your pants through an interactive prompt, aim and piss, and then zip your pants up and call it a day. Other games...
And we know that this is actually going to be a somewhat close representation of future iterations. That we know that hygiene and bodily functions like that will eventually, make it into the game in some degree. So he's not exaggerating. It's not in the game yet, obviously.
But I wanted to apply a personal touch in my video and kind of look at this from the perspective of somebody that's been here since the Kickstarter. I've fallen off, I've come back, fallen off the wagon, and I've come back. Okay,
So this is where he's talking about where he's come back and forth. I didn't know he was actually a backer from the beginning, which is interesting to find out.
This is a train wreck that I continuously monitor until I hope to see it actually release. This is a rich universe focused on epic space adventure, trading, dogfighting in first person. That's all true, by the way. That's pretty much what the game intends to be. Single player, offline or online. As of now, not true. The game is an MMO, persistent universe.
And he's very correct on that. It is not an offline or online game. Right now, we only have the PU, which is a consistent online universe. Now, Squadron 42, which is going to be the single player campaign, I think we'll probably bring in that offline portion.
Persistent universe, that's true, hosted by us. Moddable multiplayer. We don't have any moddable multiplayer, okay? This is a persistent MMO. No subscriptions. That's true. There are no subs for the game. No pay to win. Arguably not true.
And this is an argument that comes into play with a lot of people that talk about Star Citizen. Is it technically pay to win, or is it not pay to win? It's really a debate that's, I don't think, ever going to be resolved.
When game development is a thing, feature creep is a bad thing to have. They were going crazy adding extra goals, extra ships, extra gameplay features, and from here you can kind of see that as the funding increased, the feature creep also showcased.
And I don't totally disagree with that. They did add on a lot of items through the Kickstarter, and setting up new goals and everything, and it did create what we have today with a feature creep. And feature creep is definitely not where you want to be stuck at.
The problem with it is, unless you just keep adding modules and features and you don't complete the core actual game, the game is going to be perpetually in development and nothing is going to get finished.
I love having those tracks.
You have a solid foundation before you start branching off. But of course, when I had a little bit of money in my pocket, I bought the cheapest game package at the time. The $45, I believe it was the Mustang Alpha bundle, which allowed me to access the the Arena Commander game type, which actually at the time had a tutorial section which isn't even accessible in the game anymore. From what I understand, this isn't available. You pretty much have to rely on figuring out how to fly the ship yourself. The game does have a tutorial mode, but we'll get to all of that in a little bit.
And of course, recently they have added the new player experience, which gives them a little more coaching when they first get into the game. You can turn that on and off within the options when you first start to provide a better experience for new players to get an idea of what they're supposed to be doing.
6 years ago, they actually produced a video where they showcased during CitizenCon, their actual conventions, the sandworm. Now, this is a very popular clip that a lot of people have watched if you were in the Star Citizen community, where basically they were actually like driving this ATV around, and you can actually see a dust storm in the distance over there. I have never noticed the dust storm and the electrical like storms going on ever in the actual game. But of course, by the time
we know
you
that
actually get to the
weather
end,
is not
exactly
perfected in the game yet. A lot of changes in the last year with the different snowstorms, windstorms, sandstorms.
You can see that these ships that Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games are pushing look very, very detailed. In fact, the environments look detailed compared to other space games. It really does have that sense of scale that you don't see replicated in a lot of other big, massive games. Of course, at this moment over here,
I don't think that any of this other space sims hold a candle to the graphics of Star Citizen.
So no joke, this is something you're about to see, whereas you see these people flying around, this massive sandworm comes up, and this I honestly wanted to be in the game for the longest time. I told myself I was going to play this game when the sandworm gets brought in. There's no sandworm in the game as far as I've ever seen.
I don't think anybody's going to let him live down the sandworm.
Can't wait until this comes out. My grandchildren will understand the hype. Truly, my great-grandchildren will get it. I'm actually like really, I'm
Pretty
actually just
common
keeping it
jokes
real. I'm
and
keeping it a buck 50
memes
with
that we
you. I
see
don't
about
think this is
Star
going to be
Citizen.
out for a while, if ever.
I already have
Now,
it
if
in
we
my
go
will that
back
my
to the
son
amount
gets
of
my account.
funding that this game is making, I again wasn't joking when I said this made over $500 million. How much do you think the average ship costs? Well, the Buccaneer, which is a rough and tumble frontline scrapper from Drake Interplanetary, costs $110 USD.
I will be the first to admit, $110 for a ship. I don't even spend that much on a AAA game, obviously. But when you're talking about something that's crowdfunded, this is how they pay their developers. This is how they pay for the future development of the game. This is how they, get that crowdfunding money to be able to, subsidize the ability to continue making the game.
Of course, there's more vehicles. You can get the Caterpillar, haul anywhere at commercial volume. Yeah, $330 right now. And you might be like, whoa, Mudu, that's just the ship value. No. Go to the offer page right now. You can upgrade to $330. All right, that's just how Mafia works. The Corsair, which seeks Uncharted at $250. This is actually what I have for $100. Yeah, actually like cheaped out, okay? This is the cheapest ship that I own, the only ship that I own. I spent
So yeah, he must have, when he got his Mustang Alpha package, he upgraded to the Cutlass Black, it sounds like. So he would have paid the difference between the two ships.
$100. There are games that come out with like deluxe editions that are worth less than this one ship that I bought, okay? But hey, we all make dumb financial decisions, don't we? But no, you can buy the Cutlass Blue, $175. And then, of course, you've got the Cutlass Red, which is $135. That's a space ambulance. You want to be a space medic? Want to be a space EMT? Queue up $135. Now, I want you to get ready for this one. Get prepared. How much do you think the Kraken, which is the self-sustaining flying fortress, is going to cost? $1,650 US, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, guys. You can get the Kraken Privateer for $2,000.
The capital ships obviously are a much higher pledge amount, and of course that's not even the most expensive when you start looking at the Javelin. But I think one thing that he's definitely missing on here in all of this is that these are the pledge costs if you decide that you want to contribute to the development of Star Citizen. You can get in for as low as the $45 on the starter package, and that be the only amount that you ever spend. To keep in mind that you have the ability to buy all the ships that are flyable currently in game with AUEC, minus something that's just been released for the first 90 days roughly. The shock on the pledge value, there is a reason for that pledge value, is that that's what pays for the development of Star Citizen.
There's ships more expensive than what I have shown you.
The Javelin.
And some of those ships are actually rare, meaning only a limited amount of them get made. Yeah, these are the guys that do digital scarcity with actual digital goods. There is no such thing as digital fucking scarcity. If Chris Roberts and team want to create a ship worth $1,000 and only sell like a couple hundred of them, yeah, they'll get sold out in minutes. But guess what? That doesn't have to be a limited time drop. They're just going off the psychology of a lot of people who actually will look at these things.
And I don't disagree with him here, because it is digital scarcity. You don't have real life materials that you have to build these ships, but that's what allows them to set the higher price so that it pays for the development of Star Citizen. If they wanted to give everybody the opportunity to make a Javelin and made it, $400, you'd see a swath of Javelins being sold, but then the game gets affected negatively because then everybody has one. And, in that case, you're not going to have that, multiplayer, setup to be able to use that ship, because everybody's just going to be flying around in Javelin.
Now, this is where I have a serious problem with this game and the absolute crap performance so far, even in the alpha. And I get it, it's an alpha. But this is an event week where they want to basically raise money. The thing about this is, had the game been more polished, they probably could have made a lot more. Now, it's interesting that for a game in alpha,
I don't disagree with them at all on that.
Try to get people to keep constantly funneling money into this project, which honestly should pretty much stick to its roadmap and focus on not just releasing their single player component, but also fixing up the general feel of the multiplayer. For a period of the Invictus launch week, I was marred with server issues, severe lag, trying to get off of my primary residence, Area 18. The spaceport computers did not work, so I couldn't even.
Now, the one thing that is a little bit tough is the fact that 318 introduced an extremely extensive revamp of the whole base of how Star Citizen runs by introducing the PES with the persistent entity streaming and starting those first levels of server meshing, which actually I'm sure he's going to touch base on here shortly. But at the same time, they have to continue on with their events just as they originally planned, even if, you know, patches that introduce large changes still have a large number of issues to be ironed out.
And thankfully, the community is awesome. There was one player willing to fly us all out to a nearby space station so we could just summon our ships there. Well, I tried doing it, we almost got off the planet, and to be nice, I wanted to pay this guy some money for doing this for us in the first place. It was a nice gesture. Literally trying to transfer credits to another player caused me to have a crash, and again, this wasn't just one crash. Every time I tried to get off this planet, for a goddamn hour, I was crashing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and anybody that was in during Invictus, this was not an uncommon thing to find. I fortunately got lucky in the fact that I had a little better experience for the short time that I was able to play during Invictus. Unfortunately, I came down with bronchitis.
Instead of, like, you know, fixing that core, instead of having a solid foundation, we're just focused on adding in gameplay elements piecemeal from time to time. Honestly, the entire progress and development of this game is a giant mess, okay?
They have definitely bounced all over the place with different things, adding things, deleting things, putting things on the roadmap, taking them off and putting them on hiatus for a short amount of time. So I don't disagree with him with that comment.
I can't even blame CIG. They're honestly doing way too much. A single player, a persistent universe. God knows what other projects as well too. And this game is parallel developed as well, so there's different modules being shuffled in from time to time. It is a goddamn mess. And of course, obviously, I want to also say that you don't have to buy every ship with money, from what I understand. You can go to a dealership, which is admittedly pretty cool. It's very immersive, and you can buy ships from there as well.
All right, so here's where he's getting into the ability to buy the ships in game.
One of the examples CIG gives is they want to have a ratio of ships, smaller ships to larger. So they want, obviously, not everyone should have a capital class ship on launch day. Obviously, CIG wants to keep a certain ratio of capital class ships to standard ships. I personally don't really believe their reasoning.
And I definitely wouldn't agree with his view. I think you do have to have that ratio there to really maintain the game balance and the game experience. If everybody just owns a Javelin and going around in a Javelin, it's not going to be fun.
So here's the other reality over here. You can buy other ships like the Polaris, for instance. The Polaris is a nimble Corvette-class capital ship. And if you look into the buying options, it's $750. Now you might be like, whoa, at least if I pay $750, I can fly. The ship is in concept, meaning it hasn't actually been made. Yeah, Robert Space Industries has actually found a way to sell goddamn JPEGs to people.
Now, as far as the concept ships, we all know that, ships go in concept, but one thing not mentioned is that we do have straight to flyable ships that we see from time to time that get introduced immediately. Also with the concept ships, they are part of the roadmap, obviously, so we can get an idea of when they're coming up, when they start working on them. Of course, things such as like the Kraken, the Javelin and all that, we don't know when they're going to start working on. We don't know when they're going to release it. Obviously, it will eventually get released. But we do see a number of ships that are in concept get released on a yearly basis. And of course, we see new concepts come in as well, too.
Believe it or not, buying a goddamn ship in this video game is like going out to an actual car dealership and reading through things like the brochure, getting a bit of the lore, understanding.
Yeah. I wonder if he's seen any of the commercials.
The insurance on it. Making the pledge, and as
I
they
still say the
develop
Kraken
ships,
has
they
the
give
best
you a
commercial.
loaner, from what I understand, so you can play something similar until they finally develop this.
And
ship.
yeah, he does touch base on the fact that you get a loaner if your ship is in concept.
And instead of waiting for years until whenever that thing materializes, Tesla gives you a Model Y loaner in exchange until they release a Cybertruck. You can rent some of these ships if you have enough money in the game. I actually played with some of my friends. One of my buddies, Tyler, actually did rent a ship that was really, really cool to look at. And then, of course, when you look at the price tag for said ship, you don't actually want to buy it.
Yeah, and he's actually on the Connie Phoenix right now. And of course, that is one of the whole limited ships. And you can actually purchase it in game as well as rent it. And it is nice to see that he's hitting the rental side of things to let you know that even if you don't want to grind to buy it in game, you can rent it for one day. You can actually have the availability to rent it for a day, a week. I think it's 1, 3, 7 days, or 30 days.
Because I don't want to make terrible goddamn financial decisions. But of course, at the end of the day, it's because of these luxury ships and it's because of these super expensive digital purchases that from the outside looking in, any normal person would go, what the fuck is going on here? It's because of these ships that RSI is able to fund themselves so heavily. And honestly, it really shows you that they don't really need to complete the game.
Yeah, I do disagree with this comment that they don't even have to finish the game, because obviously there's already a lot of people, and a number of people have actually left Star Citizen because it's gone on for 10 years and 10 plus years.
Could you imagine if Rockstar Games, every other update for GTA Online, decided to create a brand new like sports car and actually go down the road of, you want this, you got to pay us like $200, $300 to get access to the new Infernus model. That would be insane. But hey, that's kind of not far off the mark from what I see over here at Star Citizen.
I disagree to a point with this. He's not too far off, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you mention that every ship that is flyable is available to buy in game. You can grind missions, you can do different things throughout the game to earn AUEC and be able to buy any flyable ship within the game itself. So I do disagree with that one a little bit.
Again, people who look into this game from the outside can kind of look at the community as almost a cult, people suffering from Stockholm Syndrome at this point. And again, if it wasn't for the fact that the community is kind of awesome.
And I don't totally disagree with him here. The people that are in the community of Star Citizen, for the most part, are an exceptionally great group of people. I mean, we've got our bad eggs, but I mean, for the most part, the majority of the community is awesome.
Then, of course, one of the interesting aspects was server meshing and persistent streaming, which is possible. And if they actually achieve this, they are making more money off of the technology they create than the actual game. Let me go.
I don't disagree with them. I think that if they accomplish what they are wanting to accomplish with server meshing, that the technology they build will be far more valuable than the game itself.
But what Star Citizen wants to do is release persistent streaming in the first version of the replication layer. For example, if you have this Coke can, right? I could throw this Coke can on one planet, right? Fly to another planet, and then do my business, take a piss, fly back to the other planet, maybe log off, take a drink, and I should be able to find the same Coke can or the same item or again, just having persistence throughout the world.
This is where I think he may not be completely up to date. And I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, because his commentary is usually very well researched. But this, just out the way he worded it, sounds as if he's not aware of the fact that object container streaming is already in PES, has come in with 3.18. And PES is where you're going to see the Coke can. We've all, in the time since 3.18's come in, we've experienced the Coke can. Good example, practicing for the System 7. We actually were on an EU server. We, practiced with STVs. We crashed STVs. We dumped STVs. We broke STVs. We logged out for the night. I took a sleep for 8 hours. I woke up the next morning and went back into practice. And all those STVs we left there were still there on the server. Of course, it's not fully implemented. Server meshing isn't full blown yet. It's starting out small. This is the beginning stages and it's in its infancy, but the Coke can exist. Now, of course, it all is based on the shard system and making sure you get back on the same shard right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, if this is possible, and it is, but for these guys to achieve this technology would be a massive undertaking. And to understand, if they pull it off, it's going to change the way we do MMOs and networks entirely. This is actually
entirely
massive.
Right.
And the thing is, whereas most online games typically do instances, where if you play something like Destiny 2, there's a hub world that you can jump into, and you can interact with a bunch of players in a hub location. But if you ever actually want to do a mission or like a raid or a dungeon, then you team up with a few friends and you create an instance. And Star Citizen doesn't operate that way.
No,
If
it
you want to
doesn't.
fly to another part of the Stanton system, you're sitting there and flying in the same space, the same instance as every other player, technically. And of
Mhm.
course, the same could happen for any other player on the other side of this galaxy, so on and so forth.
And other players
That's
can
the
interfere with
world
your
they want.
missions,
Thematic single player
which of
adventure
course
as
we
a
hope
rookie
that's not the
Navy
case.
combat and pilot in the Star Citizen universe. Okay, all that bullshit aside, you want to know when the last update was? Get ready for this one. Watch the update, okay? This is apparently the latest goddamn update right over here. Squadron 42, bringing gameplay to life. This is 5 years ago, ladies and gentlemen.
See, now, this I would slightly disagree with. Now, as far as a gameplay trailer, yes, that was the last time that there was a gameplay trailer made. Now, we have seen gameplay interactions through the Inside Star Citizen. We've seen gameplay interactions through Star Citizen Live, as well as, of course, we get the monthly, Squadron 42 update from CIG on the website. So every month we get an update as to what was being worked on and all that. And really, it's been relying on Inside Star Citizen most of all to be able to get us to be able to see any kind of, gameplay features or game interactions that have come from that. Of course, we saw that with a lot of the FPS radar, as well as other features that they worked at that will eventually port over to the PU.
In my opinion, Squadron 42 should have been out well over years ago. This should have been the one priority for Cloud Imperium games. Again, to have a sandbox for you to explore, get the feel right and understand, and really get the lore down would have been a great, great springboard into jumping into the persistent universe.
And he's not entirely wrong here. It is something that, generally you would probably see the single player come out before the MMO. And he is correct in saying that the single player could drive people into the MMO to play, which, does make logical sense. And they are very, very thinly spread. And that what leads to kind of an almost disorganized, perspective of what they're doing.
From what I understand, this was supposed to come out 2018, 2019,
I think
but this is
2016
basically
was the original
indefinitely delayed. At this
anticipation, or
moment in time,
2014.
it almost feels like nobody wants to talk about Squadron 42. From time to time, I'll get emails from RSI like, hey guys, we got some updates for the single player. Yeah, where's the actual gameplay? Where are the missions? When is it releasing? If it releases at all. Okay. Star Citizen is a game that you can run on your computer, and you need a pretty good computer to run Star Citizen.
Yeah,
I
he's
have
not
some of the
kidding
most
there.
top of the line rig that you can buy. I have a good processor, I have a good GPU, I have a crap ton of fast RAM. And no matter what, waking up in the hub worlds for this game will always run at 30 to maybe 40 frames, 60 if I'm goddamn lucky. The
Yes.
space flying, the planets themselves actually do run at a pretty decent frame rate. But
As far as the frame rate can vary anything from, I mean, if you're on a bad server, it can be as low as 5, and it can be as high as 60 or 70. I've even gotten up to 80. But that's all going to be dependent on the conditions of the server, how things are running, as far as everything else. And also keep in mind that this is really CPU heavy. This does not rely as much on the GPU as it does the CPU.
what is the experience like? Well, there's multiple shops, there's multiple locations, there are entire transit systems that are in these locations to take you from your habitation all the way to the spaceport and beyond. Now, of course, getting off of the planet is its own beauty. The game has some brilliant cloud technology that, again, I can't stress enough. It looks gorgeous. This game is a very pretty looking game. But once you get into the old space over there, you pick a mission, you fly through quantum space travel, and bam, you do a bunch of jobs. Like FPS combat is either the AI you go up against is downright brain dead, or they have pin perfect precise aim through walls. So I wasn't
Yeah, there is no telling with the AI, even with the most recent update, which AI you're going to go up against. The last time we actually played, we got in and 3 clips of FS9 ammo, and some AI wouldn't even go down.
There were dogfights that I did, which were fun. There were searching assignments where I actually went to derelict stations, got out an EVA, literally floated around until I found whatever the game wanted me to do, and so on and
That'd
so
be
forth.
the Gundo
There were
mission.
cave systems that I could go into and explore just so I could actually figure out the mysteries and the lore behind some of these locations.
And again, one thing I've always enjoyed about Mutahar's videos is the balance that he has with the ability to show the good and the bad.
You just sit down and do these gameplay loops, which admittedly do sound boring on paper, but once you get immersed into how the game plays, this can be something that I will say is enjoyable.
It does get a little repetitive. I think the one thing that keeps it fresh is obviously being able to utilize the org system and having friends that you play with and are able to actually enjoy the experience with actually leads to a little bit of relief from that repetition.
Because when I wanted to make money, I literally bought an ATV, stuffed that into the cargo hold for my ship, flew it down to a planet, literally mined for an hour to make enough money to rent a luxury Robert Space Industries $1,000 cruiser that we could fly around and just see the world in. That is an experience that I will never forget. And that
A little bit of an exaggeration there. The Connie Phoenix is a $350 pledge. Comes also with the Snub Fighter with it. And with the Connie Phoenix, you also get a rover.
That's one of the points where Star Citizen shines. The problem with Star Citizen is a game that is too ambitious.
I can't disagree with him here. I know that, can I recommend it? I think if you're into space sims and MMOs, I would definitely recommend it, but you need to go in it with a grain of salt that it's not going to be finished next month. It's not going to be finished probably even a year or 2 years from now. I think we're going to see that the feature creep is probably going to continue. But is what is available in there now, is it a hell of a lot of fun and a great time to play? Absolutely. But you have to also take it with a grain of salt that, like he said, it's an alpha. It's not complete. It's going to have a lot of bugs and glitches and things like that.
This game really needs somebody to come in with a corporate mind and just actually start putting in goals and hitting those goals to begin with. There is no joke when every time you spawn in, the AI will literally be T-posing in front of you. There is never a moment in Star Citizen where the AI is not broken.
He's not entirely wrong with that. I mean, so much so that when they did the video of Port Olisar crashing into Orison, that they even included T-posing AI in the crashing PO. So yeah, he's not far off on that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, will it one day be completed? Honestly, I think Grand Theft Auto 8 will be out before Star Citizen is complete. I'm not even being cute there. I genuinely do believe that.
An interesting look at Star Citizen from Some Ordinary Gamers, or as some people know, Mutahar. Again, I really like his channel. I actually like his commentary, and I watch it quite a bit. And interesting to get his take on it. Now, I don't agree with everything that he says. He has a lot of good points, and I think he's got a lot of fair points and a well-balanced look at the good and the bad. It's not going to be something, like I said, that's going to be done next month or even next year, most likely, or even possibly even 2 years. But you have to know what you're getting into. But overall, I think that definitely, if you're a Star Citizen player, backer, or fan, check out the entire video. Like I said, a link's going to be in the description to the entire video. I recommend check it out. And I definitely recommend, if you like commentary channels, check out Some Ordinary Gamers. He's got a lot of great content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to get your entries in for this month's giveaway, which is going to be the C8R Anvil Pisces. The medical Pisces will be given away on August 1st. All you got to do is subscribe and leave a comment on any video here, and you'll automatically get that entry. But for right now, I'm going to be signing out. I appreciate everybody's patience as I get back on my feet after being down for a few weeks. And we will be getting content flowing back out here soon. So stay tuned, and we will bring you more updates and gameplay from Star Citizen.